It was a Friday night at Rusty Nail, a small-town bar that had seen better days. The jukebox played soft country tunes, and the faint smell of beer mixed with fried food hung in the air. Among the crowd was Jess, a young waitress, barely 22, working double shifts to support her younger brother after their parents had passed away. Jess was stacking glasses behind the bar when a group of rough-looking bikers rolled in. Their leather jackets creaked as they swaggered through the door, demanding attention. One of them, a tall man with tattoos running up his arms, caught her eye. He seemed different from the others, but the tension in the room was thick. As Jess served drinks, she accidentally bumped into him, spilling a little beer on his jacket. He snatched her arm, and in one swift motion, his hand caught the hem of her shirt. Before anyone could react, the shirt tore slightly at the shoulder. Time froze for everyone in the bar. A gasp escaped a nearby patron, and whispers ran like wildfire. The biker stared at the rip in silence, but then his gaze shifted. And that's when something inside him changed. He didn't yell, he didn't curse. Instead, his eyes softened, and he crouched slightly, examining what had caused the tear. The whole bar leaned in, expecting an explosion, but what they saw next would leave them speechless. What the biker saw was a scar, jagged and pale against Jess's skin, running from her shoulder to her collarbone. It wasn't just any scar, it was fresh, angry, and unmistakably a mark of abuse. The room went quiet, every patron holding their breath. Jess froze, her hands trembling as she tried to hide the wound. Memories of the nights she had spent hiding from her stepfather, the nights she cried herself to sleep, came flooding back. She expected judgment, laughter, even violence, not the reaction she got. The biker's eyes, dark and intimidating just moments ago, softened completely. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small first aid kit. "I'm trained in first aid," he said quietly, his voice almost gentle. "Let me help you." The other bikers looked on, confused and hesitant. Jess hesitated, but something in his calm tone made her trust him. As he carefully cleaned the wound and applied a bandage, he asked softly, "Did he do this to you?" Jess nodded, tears brimming. The bar's atmosphere shifted, the fear and tension melting into something heavier, a mix of empathy and shame. The bikers, once symbols of danger, now seemed like silent guardians. Even the bartender stepped back, unsure how to react. It was a scene no one expected, a moment where appearances lied, where kindness came from the most unlikely place. But the real twist was yet to come, and it would shock everyone in that room. As the biker finished bandaging Jess's shoulder, his phone rang. He glanced at it, and then back at her. "I'm sorry, I need to take this," he said, walking to the corner. The room buzzed with curiosity. The call lasted only a minute, but when he returned, the expression on his face had changed everything. "Jess, I know someone who can help you." "For real," he said. Then, to the entire bar, he added, "This isn't just a scar. It's a sign that someone needs to step up. I know the right people who can protect her." Before anyone could process, he pulled out his wallet and handed her a business card. Not just any card, but one from a local women's shelter, complete with emergency contacts and legal support. Jess's mouth went dry, her hands shaking. For the first time in months, she felt hope. Then, the unexpected happened. One of the older bikers, silent until now, stepped forward and put his hand on Jess's shoulder. "We've all seen too much pain in our lives," he said gruffly. "You don't have to go through this alone." The whole bar froze. Patrons who had been drinking, joking, and laughing now watched with tears in their eyes. The bikers, feared and misunderstood, had turned into protectors. The waitress who had feared being judged, shamed, or worse, now found herself surrounded by people willing to help, not harm her. For a moment, Jess just stood there, overwhelmed. The realization sank in. The world wasn't all cruel, and kindness often comes from the most unexpected places. The night ended with Jess sitting at a corner table, sipping water, the bandage on her shoulder a small but powerful reminder that she wasn't alone. The bikers packed up to leave, but not before the leader, the one who had first torn her shirt, knelt and said quietly, You're stronger than you think. And never forget, there are people who care. As they left, the bar erupted in quiet applause. Strangers exchanged glances, realizing that appearances can be deceiving and that courage often hides behind fear. Jess looked around, seeing the faces of those who had silently supported her. The bartender, the patrons, even the quiet woman in the corner who had offered her a gentle nod earlier. Jess took a deep breath, tears streaming freely. That night changed her. She realized that asking for help wasn't a weakness. Accepting kindness wasn't a burden. Humanity existed in the most unexpected forms, and sometimes, the people we fear most can teach us the greatest lessons. Weeks later, Jess began volunteering at the same shelter the biker had recommended. She helped other women who felt trapped, scared, and alone, showing them that even in moments of terror, hope could emerge. And in her heart, she carried the memory of a biker who, with a simple act of understanding and care, had frozen an entire bar and reminded the world of the power of kindness. The moral was clear: never judge a book by its cover, never ignore a cry for help, and always remember that one act of courage and compassion can change someone's life forever.